Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. The penultimate college football playoff ranking came out Tuesday night. Tennessee coming in at number 7, making them the number 9 seed and matching them up with Ohio State and Columbus in the first round as it currently stands. Alabama snuck in at number 11 in front of Miami and the other 3-loss SEC teams. Bama currently the last team in. The final ranking will come out Sunday after conference championship weekend. College hoops, the Tennessee Vols routed Syracuse at home 96-70 in the SEC ACC Challenge. Chaz Lanier with 26 points. The Vols off to their best start since 2000-2001. Tennessee is 8-0. The SEC ACC Challenge continues on tonight. Auburn taking on Duke. Alabama at UNC. Vanderbilt off to a 7-1 start. They are at Virginia Tech. That is an 8:15 tip-off. Titans on the practice field this afternoon, getting ready to come back home to host the Jags Sunday. Safety Julius Wood was placed on the NFL suspended list Tuesday, suspended 6 games for violating the NFL's performance-enhancing substance policy. The Nashville Predators are north of the border this week, starting with the game at the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight. Puck drop at 6:30. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. We'll be joined by Jordan Dajani. We'll go around the NFL talking about all the coaching changes, talking about the awards, maybe ask him a question or two about Mike Vrabel and some of the quarterbacks here at Tennessee. And then at the top of the next hour, we'll carry the Brian Callahan press conference after today's practice. Blaine, the college football, playoff bracket projection came out. And just want to say, the committee did not have orange-colored glasses. They put out Ohio State ahead of Tennessee. And Tennessee will, if the playoffs ended today, which this is a good indicator now of what the bracket will likely look like, depending on some conference wins.
Yeah, I see you get happy over there because they got Bama in your team.
Well, because I know that. Here's the thing. I know it's going to be funny to talk about Alabama because people are going to be expecting me to be happy, but it's more about I'm more happy about the drama it causes than Alabama actually being in the college football playoff. But Tennessee in Ohio State, going up to Columbus, to play the Buckeyes, the big house. Going to the big house. That was the right call. But, man, did this out putting in Alabama, they're, of course, 12-1 ranking, but 11 in the other because of how stupid this whole thing is. Just have one ranking, I maintain.
Thank you.
But Alabama in, obviously, like they're the last team in, which means that they could be the first team out. But with what Ward Manuel said yesterday when discussing why they put in 9-3 Alabama over 10-2 Miami, here's what he said. It really came down to Alabama is 3-1 versus current top 25 teams. Miami was 0-1. Alabama is 6-1 versus teams over 500. Miami was 4-2. So it's about the wins, about the win-loss records. And, everybody thinks that SMU, if they lose against Clemson, should get in over Alabama. But by this logic, for the least this week, this is their logic. We'll see what their logic is next week.
Do you think that's the right logic, by the way?
It makes sense, but I am also not of the opinion of what Buck and Lucas were last show. They said that Alabama would surely beat there is no 100% with certainty that Alabama would beat Miami. And I guess I've watched a different Alabama team.
Which Miami stands up, though. I'm sorry, Bama. Which Bama team shows up?
Right. That's the thing. You know what Miami team you're going to get every week. Yeah. It's going to be a team that's going to go off and score a bunch of points. And Alabama is a turnover machine right now. So I don't have that same level of confidence.
I don't either.
But if this is the logic that they're going to use, it's like analytics, right? So this is where this feels like to me is a good example of this is like someone saying, well, the analytics says every time you need to kick a field goal in this situation, but it doesn't take into account anything else.
Right.
And this feels like this does not take into account the product on the field.
Yeah.
And I think we saw the same thing with how Ohio State barely dropped in the rankings, versus other teams have dropped further against, with similar losses. And
also, Bama beat Georgia.
Yeah,
I know this ain't the Georgia.
I get the logic,
Georgia.
right? It says 3-1 versus current top 25 teams.
Yeah.
Well, SMU is 2-1. If they were to lose to Clemson. They would be 2-1 versus current top 25 teams.
Ooh.
They would be 5-2, which is worse than Alabama against teams that are better than 500 win percentage. I mean, by their logic that they have wrapped themselves up in, they're saying that SMU shouldn't be in over Alabama. So even though they're in a conference championship
game. Do you think this is SEC bias or Bama bias?
There's some bias, right?
Somewhere.
I mean, let's all be honest. I don't know if it's Bama bias.
Easy answer. 10-2, 9-3.
Yeah.
Which is it? Don't put any names by it.
The team with 10-2, but I guess it's about the quality of the wins. But Sammy, I mean, I don't know if it's Bama bias, but I do definitely think there is some sort of bias. But again, the logic is sound, but is the logic going to stick next week if SMU loses?
I completely agree with that. I mean, we're talking consistency here. What consistent? You can't get a consistent Alabama team. And you're saying, is this the logic that's going to stick? I mean, you even saw it last year with FSU. The logic of the committee, it doesn't seem to be very consistent.
Right.
Year in and year out, let alone week to week. We don't know what we're going to get.
Yeah, especially with this new 12-team college football playoff situations that the logic changes. He talks himself into a pretzel almost every week, and then basically
I told you, I do not
he
like
ties
this
himself
AD.
up into a corner.
Yeah.
He backs up into a corner, and then he plows through that corner with a sledgehammer and just creates a new corner and all this stuff every week.
Yeah, I want to ask both of you guys. Man, he said something that was a little alarming to me. Maybe I'm taking it over the top, but I was like, what? He said no team can move into the playoff picture after the SEC. He also said you can't move out even if you lost. I agree with that one. But no team can move up.
Well, it was
into the playoff picture. It's like it's done deal now. It didn't matter. Like that's what he said.
Yeah, that
did I take it out of context?
Well, let me pull. I meant to pull up that tweet because Austin Stanley, I think, clarified it a little bit better of A to Z.
I was listening
because
to
a lot of people have said that, but he clarified it.
Okay.
And he said teams that aren't playing in championship games are not going to shuffle orders.
Right.
Tennessee is stuck behind Ohio State, but not necessarily stuck behind conference championship losing teams. So the teams that are maybe ahead of Tennessee because of conference championships that are still waiting to be played, I guess that would be...
no, I'm not talking about you can move within the 12. I'm talking about someone who is outside of the top 12 right now and is already kind of pictured. You can't move up in. Like Ole Miss can't move up.
Well, they wouldn't be allowed to. There would be no reason for it.
Wait, if certain losses, isn't there a possibility?
No, not really. Nothing's really going to change because they already view in the scheme of things that no matter what happens, whatever losses are up there, that Alabama's better than Ole Miss. Though that's what they're saying, that like none of these games are going to change anything between because Alabama has a Georgia win, right? So they even if Georgia loses, like none of that affects.
So he's saying, and then he's saying the conference champion, whether you lose or win, is still going to put you in the top 11, 12.
Pretty much. Teams. I think the only team from the outside would be Iowa State.
I thought that because you know what I still feel
because they got to play Arizona State, who's number 12.
I still feel like you or Southern Carolina got screwed in this whole picture because the LSU cheat game.
Hey, listen, I agree with that.
And I'm like, hey, man, right now they are the hottest team. This is a team I would not want to be playing.
And Stoney Keeley in the F&M Bank chat on YouTube, which you can go to Zone TV on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live, he says, Miami's lucky to only have 2 losses. I wonder if that factored in. Well, listen, Alabama's just as lucky that they didn't lose South Carolina.
Yeah, I watched that.
I mean, let's be honest here. I think wins, based on what we have seen, quality wins matter the most. And Alabama has quality wins.
That's what they're saying.
And some of these losses, I think that they view them kind of all equally. Like they kind of dump all these losses. Like I guess they view a Michigan loss, even though you were favored by 20 points at home and it was a 6-5 team, they view that just the same as a lost to Arkansas. Like that was on the, all this stuff is just factored in. It's like quality wins seem to be it. And if you're looking for quality wins, Alabama has more quality wins by their metrics than SMU would if SMU loses.
But they play in a better conference, so it's going to.
Yeah.
But they still.
So that's why I kind of think it's a little bit of SEC bias, a little bit of scheduling, right? Because a lot of the SEC teams have remained. And maybe it's not bias; it's just facts that we talked about. Is that the SEC teams are your schedule's littered with ranked wins and losses. So it's just maybe it's not a bias, but it's just a scheduling thing right now. Because I mean, if you look at what SMU has done in the ACC, they've been great in the ACC, but the problem is that they don't have a lot of ranked teams in the ACC. So I mean,
and that's something they were facing beforehand whenever
Right.
they were in the American. I mean, that's the whole reason why they wanted to move to the ACC. That's the whole reason UCF wanted to move to the ACC, and that you saw that shift with that whole conference is because they wanted to get some better games. But now you basically have the former American as the current ACC with some other better teams in there, but it's really that same conference. So you still have the same issue, and the SEC has just proven year after year to be so strong.
Yeah, no doubt. Top to bottom, yeah. And then, but speaking of UCF, I saw they interviewed Scott Frost again. Is that true? No.
I don't think I didn't see that they interviewed him. I think
or
that's
they were
probably
going to? Maybe I don't know. Maybe somebody was playing tricks on me on the X.
by the way, I am a bad co-host. Okay, you said the big house Tennessee to be going in the big house. And I did not correct you.
Oh, what's the correct?
It's the shoe.
It's the shoe. I'm about
Yeah.
that. I get them all.
Big house is Michigan.
Michigan, right? Yeah.
What do y'all
Sorry about
call
that.
Ball State?
Who? Oh, nothing.
Because I saw your little chirp tweet earlier.
Oh, yeah. They hired a new coach.
When we come back,
My
we're going
bad.
to
Thanks
switch.
for correcting me.
Yeah,
Yeah, you make mistakes all the time.
When we come back, we're going to
corrects
switch
me all
to
the
the
time.
NFL and talk to Jordan Dajani of CBS Sports and go around the NFL with him. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
The shoe.
I love living in Middle Tennessee. We've got great restaurants, entertainment, sports, and one of the nation's top Ford dealers right here in our backyard. Two Rivers Ford. Remember that name. Two Rivers has been a staple in our community since 1983. They're locally owned. They have a non-commissioned sales team, and they sell below MSRP. They've been doing business with integrity for decades. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
Cover 2 with Blaine and Zach here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. Just a little housekeeping real quick. Yeah. I said that they were 2-1 against current top 25 teams. That would be SMU. If they were to lose to Clemson, they'd be 2-1. That is unfortunately incorrect. They're currently 0-1. And if they were to lose to Clemson, SMU, they'd be 0-2. So that tells you right there, SMU should not. Alabama really doesn't have to sweat anything, it feels like, based on what they said. We're going to go and hear what Jordan Dajani has to say about everything going around the NFL. Jordan Dajani of CBS Sports joins us now. Jordan, just real quick, college football playoffs, Ward Manuel, his reasoning, his logic seems to change week to week. Your thoughts on this whole, the premiere of this new system?
Well, my thoughts are that I'm very glad I don't cover college football. I don't know how you guys keep up with all these million hypotheticals and 15 different resumes of teams and then subjectively try to put one team's resume up against another team's resume, and then you have to deal with the committees attempting to be objective with the reasoning. It's a lot to keep track of, but I will say that it doesn't seem like they were given or they were done a favor by having to release this rankings before the conference championship week, because they'd probably be able to get away with some major movement depending on what happens with the conference championship game these upcoming week. But I will tell you, Tennessee going to Ohio State, I don't agree with that. I think that Ohio State should be coming to Tennessee. I know that if Michigan came to Knoxville, there's no way they're defeating the Tennessee Volunteers. So I'm excited to see if there's any chance that maybe that venue could be switched. Maybe something changes over the next week. I don't have high hopes for that, but it's been really entertaining every Tuesday night to see what the committee has to say about these rankings.
Yeah, you bleed orange. Okay.
Yeah, that's orange-colored glasses right there. But here's the good news. It doesn't matter where they play. University of Tennessee is going to beat Ohio State. I'll go ahead and lock it in right now. They beat them. Didn't matter if it was at the Shoe. If it doesn't matter if it's at Neyland Stadium, doesn't matter if it's a neutral site, does not matter. University of Tennessee is going to beat Ohio State.
That means then Ryan Day gets fired.
Yeah, which is great.
And which will then the Tennessee is going to help Vrabel, or watch this, Eddie George get that job.
Let me tell you, it was a dramatic week in the Dajani household because my sister is actually going to school at Ohio State right now.
Traitor.
So she wants Ryan Day gone, and the vibes are extremely low in Columbus. So to your point, maybe it doesn't matter where the game is played. Maybe Tennessee takes care of business in Columbus, no problem.
That's how I feel. But let's go over to another dramatic game that happened this Thanksgiving weekend. The Chicago Bears, I've never seen not only just Matt Eberflus mess it up, but also the quarterback also messing it up. That final 26 seconds, we're sitting there. Of course, this is a Detroit Lions household, so this was met with jubilation. But my in-laws, we're all thinking, why aren't they calling the timeout? Like, why aren't they calling the timeout? And for him to then have to go and do the press conference and then get fired like 30 minutes after the press conference, wild scene. But does that also kind of show that they're still supporting the GM? A lot of dysfunction by the ownership group and the people making these decisions kind of shows to me there's a lot of dysfunction in Chicago.
Yeah, first of all, with that whole clock mismanagement phase that we saw, I mean, I think there's always a point in almost every NFL game where the offense gets off track and a head coach has to step in and call a timeout. Maybe the play clock is winding down. Maybe it's the game clock. And in this instance, on a very public stage, it was the game clock in the fourth quarter with the team attempting to pull off a comeback against the best team in the league. And that was the final straw. And I think what was ridiculous was that Matt Eberflus tried to defend his decision after the fact, which is a big reason he was fired, in my opinion. I do think Caleb Williams does deserve some blame, but at the same time, you're a rookie quarterback with the time winding down. You're trying to get a play in. I think he even tried to call an audible. That's when the head coach steps in for the rookie quarterback to call the timeout to get the offense back on track. That falls on Matt Eberflus, number one, in my opinion. Now, in terms of the dysfunction with with the organization, I would agree that there is definitely dysfunction with ownership. When it comes to general manager Ryan Poles, I actually do not have an issue with him retaining his post. I think he's done a pretty solid job when it comes to the trades he's done with the draft picks. He's the reason that the Chicago Bears got Caleb Williams in the first place. I think he's done a good job in terms of beefing up both sides of the ball in free agency on the defensive side as well as the offensive side with the trade for DJ Moore, the trade for Keenan Allen, the drafting of Rome Odunze. I'm okay with him keeping his post, but I voiced my concerns to you guys about Matt Eberflus and offensive coordinator Shane Waldron before the start of the season, and now both have been removed. So here's to a better era of football for the Chicago Bears.
It's crazy because if he would have called the timeout, he may still have a job today. Isn't that wild to think about, that they possibly could have won that game and he would have at least kept his job maybe till the end of the season?
Right.
But like, you got fired. You're the first Chicago Bears head coach to be fired in the middle of the season. That is, first off, an insane stat. But second off, why wouldn't you call the timeout with your job on the line? I mean, is that just apathy or stupidity or both?
His mind went blank on the biggest of stages. And again, let's go back to it. Think about how big that moment was. The Bears, the lowly Bears, were on their way to not just tying, but potentially upsetting the Lions in their house on Thanksgiving. I do think that would have saved Eberflus's job, but instead they ran out the clock on themselves. And here's the thing, as I mentioned, they tried to defend the decision after the fact. So yeah, I really do believe that was the final straw.
Okay, so of course they fire him, and then of course everybody's name, every hot candidate, every old former coach that is currently unemployed is all being mentioned on this. But I just kind of want to get real for a second. Surely the Bears are not going to go from a defensive head coach that can't develop a quarterback, that can't get a good offensive line, to a defensive head coach that can't develop a quarterback, that can't have a good offensive line in Mike Vrabel, right? It just seems like that's a bad marriage waiting to happen.
Yeah, our guy, Jonathan Jones, is saying that the Bears want that stereotypical leader of men type. So I guess that's a reason why people would try to bring up Mike Vrabel as a potential replacement. We also got thrown the name Notre Dame head coach Marcus Freeman, who I think the Bears actually drafted back in 2009. But here's the thing about this looming Bears coaching search. And this was something that Kyle Brandt actually brought up that I found extremely entertaining. But the last few Bears head coaching hires, they have been super weird. After Lovie Smith came Mark Trestman from the Canadian Football League, and then came the freshly fired John Fox, and then Matt Nagy from the Chiefs, which wasn't super inspiring. This was pre-Patrick Mahomes era. And then they hired the Colts defensive coordinator to be their head coach in Matt Eberflus. So Mike Vrabel, potential replacement, yes, but I'm with you. I don't like when people make too much of this guy's an offensive mind, this guy's a defensive mind, this guy's a special teams guy. But in this instance, when you have Caleb Williams and an offense that you worked hard to revamp, I do think that an offensive-minded coach would be the best fit. So we'll see what happens.
Is Thomas Brown, can he really get the job? Because I feel like he's been dealt kind of a crap hand these last 2 years. I mean, he was, got thrust into play calling duty with a bad Carolina team. That was a dysfunctional organization. Now he's over here. He got replaced Shane Waldron, and now he's becoming head coach. And I really like everything about Thomas Brown's, history and pedigree, but it just feels like he's being dealt a crap hand year after year.
I actually meant to bring him up. I would not rule out Thomas Brown being able to keep this job. He's a young offensive mind who is held in high regard in league circles, in my opinion. He's already received multiple head coaching interviews, including from your Tennessee Titans. And I think he's done a good job in his very short time with Caleb Williams. You can look at the stats and see how he's improved his play ever since Shane Waldron was fired. So Thomas Brown is definitely a name to keep an eye on.
We're on with Jordan Dajani of CBS Sports, and we're going around the NFL.
Well, Jordan, with that being said, I guess give us some other teams in the NFL that have the coaches on the hottest of hot seats.
Yeah, I went on the radio last night in Jacksonville, and they were asking me why Doug Peterson hasn't been fired yet, and I didn't really have a good answer for them. I think Shad Khan is trying to be patient with not only head coach Doug Peterson, but general manager Trent Baalke as well. But I think most people anticipate a change being made at some point. Maybe that comes in the offseason. So the Jacksonville Jaguars are a job that is probably going to be open. I think you can say the same thing about the Dallas Cowboys and Mike McCarthy. I don't care what Jerry Jones says in saying that it's hypothetically possible that Mike McCarthy could earn a contract extension. I think the Dallas Cowboys are ready for a change in leadership this upcoming offseason. And then another team I'll bring up, the New York Giants. I'm not 100% sure that Brian Daboll is going to be fired as their lead man. Now, I know that New York is absolutely burning down right now. I know that fans are extremely upset with the general manager, with head coach Brian Daboll as well. But ownership with John Mara, he's preached multiple times this season that he wants to have patience with those who are in charge of his franchise. They got rid of their quarterback in Daniel Jones. They're going to see if they can replace him this offseason. I think the New York Giants are an interesting team to keep an eye on. It wouldn't surprise me if Brian Daboll was handed his walking papers in the coming months, but I don't know if it's a guarantee.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, naturally, the Aziz, former Titan and current Texans and 49ers is, getting suspended for his hit. First of all, let's, go back to the hit. What were your thoughts on the hit? And then also the suspension for 3 games. And he's appealing at this part, so that probably maybe he'll get it down to 2 games.
Yeah, have you guys texted Ramon Foster already? That's the guy who's hearing the case. That's what I would be doing. I was like, hey, how you leaning? But with Aziz, I thought it was a dirty hit. That was my first response to that. It wasn't a surprise that he was suspended 3 games, and it's going to be interesting to see if that's knocked down to 2, as you were alluding to. But here's the thing that people are failing to realize. Aziz's hit was more than just hitting a defenseless quarterback. This is a physical player whose conduct physically sometimes crosses the line. And I'm not trying to call him some well-known dirty player, but he was penalized for hitting Tony Pollard late just 2 weeks ago. He straight up punched a Bears player in the face in primetime earlier this year before headbutting Tennessee legend Darnell Wright on the sideline as well. And when you read the explanation from John Runyon, this suspension did take those instances into consideration. And here's the other thing. The league also took into consideration what happened after the hit to Trevor Lawrence. Now, naturally, the Jaguars teammates are going to try to defend their guy, but Aziz also kind of lost his mind a little bit too. He tried to engage in multiple scuffles. He was on his way out of the stadium near the end zone when he took his helmet off and he was ready to engage offensive guard Brandon Sheriff. All of this was taken into consideration. I think it was a bad look on 3 different fronts, and that's why I'm not surprised that a suspension was handed down.
So you think he'll still get the 3-game, or the pill will knock it down a little bit?
I genuinely don't know, and I'm very curious to see what happens. I wouldn't be shocked either way. It could go down to 2. It could remain at 3. And that's why it's great that you guys work with Ramon Foster, so you can ask him off air some of the cogent points that he was able to make.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, with Jordan Dajani, NFL writer for CBS Sports. One, coach you didn't mention, I'm just interested to see if he's going to get scapegoated here, and that is the Cleveland Browns head coach with their quarterback situation after seeing the good of Jameis Winston and then, of course, the pick 6 bad of Jameis Winston. What do you think is going to happen with him?
Jameis Winston's like my favorite player in the entire NFL. I'd be fine with him. I'd be fine if he was the competition guy that Tennessee brought in to play with Will Levis next year. That'd be really cool. I'd love to cover him. But here's the thing with the Cleveland Browns. Kevin Stefanski is the reigning NFL coach of the year. That should almost be enough to save him as is. But here's the thing about Deshaun Watson. I don't know if that was a Kevin Stefanski decision.
Right.
I truly do wonder if that was an ownership decision. The huge investment they made into this guy with off-field issues at the time. They wanted him to be their franchise quarterback, and he struggled game after game after game, but the ownership wanted to keep him in the starting lineup. I don't know if that was a Kevin Stefanski decision. I feel like that's an ownership decision. So Kevin Stefanski, you can understand why. I mean, the Cleveland Browns have been a bad football team this year. The defense has taken a step back as well. They've dealt with some injuries on the offensive line. But no, I don't think that Kevin Stefanski is going to be fired.
One more real quick. Justin Tucker's having some issues here. One of the best, if not the best kicker of all time is having the yips here. He's missed some extra points, some field goals that he normally makes. I know John Harbaugh kind of, supported him. But, could he possibly get cut?
Justin Tucker, last week he missed 2 field goals and an extra point. It was his first game since high school, maybe ever, where he missed 3 kicks. And he's already missed the most field goals he's ever missed in a season with 8. He's missed 22 points worth of kicks in 5 losses. And here's the wild stat. If Justin Tucker misses a field goal in a game this season, the Ravens are 1-5. So you can make the argument that he's directly hurting his team. And listen, Justin Tucker's an NFL legend. He's a Baltimore Ravens franchise legend. He's regarded as one of the best kickers ever. But if I'm the head coach and I'm the decision maker, I am absolutely bringing in someone else to push him on the practice field. And if his case of the yips continues, then the other guy's going to suit up for my team.
There you have it, Jordan Dajani.
Art Smith has been doing a hell of a job up at Pittsburgh. Right. I mean, Russell Wilson, he's one of the main reasons that team is as successful as they are. How short-term memory will the NFL have in terms of Art Smith maybe getting another look at some head coaching jobs? Because what he's doing right now for Mike Tomlin, because Mike Tomlin's a true CEO head coach. He lets Art Smith handle everything. Can Art Smith, is he reviving his chances of getting another shot at being a head coach?
Yeah, my gosh. Russell Wilson throwing for 414 yards and 3 touchdowns at 50 years old. Come on, Cincinnati. Terrible. Yeah, he's washed up. That's what I thought, right? No, I think Arthur Smith has done a tremendous job, and I've always thought that he was a very good offensive coordinator. Had a really weird tenure as the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, but as an offensive coordinator, his track record's pretty pristine. I think it's pretty interesting that he's getting some looks from his alma mater, the UNC Tar Heels. Could he be a college coach next year out in Chapel Hill? But no, I do think that what has happened this year with Pittsburgh, that not just Mike Tomlin and Russell Wilson are getting credit. I absolutely think behind the scenes, Arthur Smith is getting credit. And I think that it absolutely could reignite the interest that some teams could have in him as a head coach. But here's the problem he's dealing with, and it's something I've brought up to you multiple times. I think that this is the most interesting coaching carousel we will ever see in the NFL. With Bill Belichick, Mike Vrabel, Ben Johnson, Joe Brady, Liam Cohen, Aaron Glenn, Arthur Smith is going to be somewhere in the mix. So, yeah, I do think that there will be some interest, but I'm not ready to pencil him in as a head coach for an NFL franchise in 2025.
There's no better head coach to learn from and how to do things than Mike Tomlin, in my opinion. Coach of the year, I think, could be up there. Coach of the decade, coach of the century. I love me some Mike Tomlin because everybody wants to talk about coaching trees and this and that, but nobody is consistently with influx, with the quarterback situation being in flux, with injuries happening. Nobody consistently has coached and ran, in my opinion, a better organization than the Steelers have. And they should really be the true model of what everybody is looking and aspiring to be. So it just makes me wonder how much has Art Smith learned, because previously he's learning from under guys like Mike Munchak, Mike Mularkey, Ken Wisenhunt, and Mike Vrabel. And so I kind of wonder, can Mike Tomlin be that Nick Saban rehab for NFL coaches?
Yeah, I was about to say, it's like the Alabama therapy program under Nick Saban, right? Working with Mike Tomlin, I think that's a great comparison. So the other question I have is with Arthur Smith, how much legitimate interest does he have in being a lead man once again? And maybe some people think that's a dumb question, but not every single assistant in the NFL wants to be a head coach. So that's something I'd like to ask as well. But to your point, Mike Tomlin, he's been an absolute stud ever since he accepted the lead man job in Pittsburgh as a young buck. And he's just learned and he's gotten better as he's gone along as well. One of the best in the game, no doubt.
Last question. Bryce Young is playing really, really well. He's not playing to the level of first-round draft pick, but he's at least playing himself into consideration to be around in 2025. The same thing for Will Levis. Obviously, the Colts will probably run with Anthony Richardson because they're high on their own supply. But as far as Bryce Young and Will Levis are concerned, is at this point, as long as they maintain the level of play they've exhibited since coming off the bench for Bryce and coming off the injury with Will Levis, are they the guys for 2025 because of a down draft quarterback draft class?
Absolutely. I think so. I think that these guys have shown if you give them more time and they get more comfortable, then they can show you glimpses of why they can potentially be franchise quarterbacks. Now, I'm not going to make the argument that Bryce Young and Will Levis are going to be absolute stars one day in the NFL. We just don't know that. And I think Will Levis, to your point, has definitely played better. I think we've all talked about that. But Bryce Young has really taken me aback over the past couple weeks. I mean, he looked like one of the biggest busts in NFL history, and now he looks like a quarterback with great potential. And, instead of looking lost in the offense, he looks like he's running point guard. He's getting the ball out on time. He's getting out of the pocket with intention. He's confidently delivering strikes downfield. 6.1 yards per dropback over the last 4 games with just 1 turnover and 5 total touchdowns. He has a higher passer rating over his last 3 games than Justin Herbert and C.J. Stroud. But the thing you need to know about Bryce Young is that he's going to get a chance next year because of ownership. You have to remember, in March 2023, David Tepper made that aggressive move up the draft board to select his quarterback of the future. He passed on C.J. Stroud for Bryce Young, and now Bryce Young is starting to show some of that potential, why he was regarded as one of the top quarterbacks in the class. David Tepper wants to be right because it will make him look good, and he needs some good energy around him right now. And I think that's worth bringing up because I think it goes hand in hand why Bryce Young will be the quarterback in 2025 for your Carolina Panthers.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. That's Jordan Dajani of CBS Sports. You can read all of his columns at cbssports.com, and you can also follow him on Twitter at Jordan Dajani. Jordan, really appreciate it.
All right, you guys are the best. Thank you.
Thank you, JD.
When we come back, we'll go straight to your phone call, 615-737-1045, and we'll continue our discussion about the whole situation with SMU, the playoffs, maybe even talk a little bit about the suspension with Azeez Al-Shaair. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop, Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045. You want to get in on the conversation. And, of course, we have the F&M Bank Chat on Zone TV, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. And we're going to go straight to the phones to go to Dylan, who's in Hermitage, who wants to talk about Bama bias. Dylan, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a Bama bias. I have watched all of these games that, I've either watched them or highlights. First of all, Miami lost the Virginia Tech game. That should be another loss in there, checking the boxes. So if we're going to do just losses, if that's how we're going through it, I am a UT fan, not by any means in Alabama to get anything. But taking that away just because of that, the 3 loss is ridiculous because Miami has not been a team. They're maybe a little bit better than an Indiana at this point.
Yeah, but Indiana's ranked pretty high, right? I mean, at that point, I'm just saying from a perspective of a 10-2 team and then a 9-3 team, and I'm an Alabama fan. I'm not as confident as everybody else that, Miami would lose 10 times out of 10 to this Alabama team.
No, I don't think so either, but they did lose to Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
That's a fact. That was a catch. That was a garbage game, and it should be on their record.
Gotcha.
And at that point, it wouldn't even be, part of the conversation.
That's true.
Gotcha.
I mean, that's true. That's a good point from Dylan there.
I forgot they lost to them.
Well, what he's saying they should have lost to him.
Oh, they didn't. Okay, I was going to say.
I mean that's a good point, but I mean also really probably Alabama should have lost to
South Carolina.
Mm-hmm. I mean it just kind of like should have and could have's don't really matter anymore. But I get what he was saying.
If you can still win even on a bad day, that's still I
mean Miami's defense has really let them down for the most part, so maybe that is where Alabama can make some hay against them, but I just this Alabama team, you just don't know what team's going to show up. At least Miami, you kind of know that you're going to get an explosive offense with some high risk and a guy that can go make any kind of throw that he needs to make. And it's going to be a while. It'd be a fun game to watch, to be honest with you. Alabama versus Miami would be a hell of a game to watch.
Dang. Maybe they should. Maybe they have a play-in game.
There you go. Now we need to add the play-in game.
More money, more moolah.
Well, play-in games while conference championships are going on. Why not do a play-in game? Then you can really hammer home who should be in and who shouldn't be in.
Yeah, Sammy with
What about you, Sammy?
He thinks.
Hey, I'm all for it. Bring on more football.
More football.
Is anyone going to really complain if there's more football? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe she's Azir.
Well, I listen, let me tell you something. I'll tell you someone that is complaining about this football, and this may be one of the worst takes I've seen come out from this college football announcement last night. This is from Mike Renner of PFF and all PFFing. I find it insulting to fans that we are even having to debate which 3-loss team gets to play in a tournament deciding the best team in college football. Crowning a 3-loss national champion is the height of absurdity. Dude, you covered the NFL where the New York Giants made it in as a wild card team and went and won the Super Bowl. Like, what are we doing here? That's a ridiculous thing to say about the playoffs. That's the whole point of the expanding to the 12-team playoff was that there may be some teams that can make it run the table. That's one of the worst takes I've ever heard about this. And coming from this,
I want you to respond to him.
Well, he's getting hammered by everybody else. So,
okay, good.
Yeah,
So
I don't need to pile on or anything, but he's getting hammered by everybody else. And the logic makes no sense, especially for a guy that has made his living covering the sport of the NFL, where it's famously said, and I don't necessarily believe it, but it's famously said 0-0 when you get in the playoffs. Everybody has an equal chance of winning. Yeah. Well, that's the same premise here. That's the whole reason of expanding to this. Think about all if this guy was in charge of tournaments, Mike Renner was in charge of tournaments, think about we'd be at like a 4-team men's basketball tournament, right? Because think of all the Cinderella runs we would have been robbed. But this was the whole point of expanding the college football playoffs because we wanted to see more matchups, more teams. And right now, Alabama is according to the committee, worthy of being in because they are a team that could make a run, right? I mean, we've seen it
they're
happen.
a dangerous team. Now, you just
I mean,
don't know
I'm
which
not
team you're
betting
gonna
money
like.
on it, but
right, you don't know which team you're going to get. It's just weird. This is kind of a down year. Outside of Oregon, who could you say was the most consistent team? And I think that's why this is happening with the 3 loss, and people just see 3 loss and go, they shouldn't be in. Whether they should or shouldn't, I don't know. But some people just going to say after that butt whooping by Oklahoma, they should never get in.
Yeah,
and with 3 losses.
Well, and they talked
some people
about
just
it.
think that way.
They talked about that. It's about the body of work. It's not about just the recency bias. It's about the body of work and what you've been able to do on a consistent basis. And that's why they bring up Alabama's 3-1 versus current top 25 teams. Miami is 0-1. I mean, that's why they bring those up, because those matter. So this is, if they're 3-1, they've won 3 games. They really only have to win, guess what? 3 games. Well, no, wait, 4 games. I mean, a team like that can make run.
I want you to do this real quick. I know you have the wins and losses up. What were look at it from a different lens, their worst losses of their 3?
It would be
like, how bad
Oklahoma
was that?
In Oklahoma.
Okay, what was it?
But I would say would probably be their worst. I think that's worse than Vandy, right?
Okay, well, Vandy is not ranked.
Right, but I mean,
but
Tennessee's the only team that they lost to that was ranked. And is Oklahoma in Oklahoma, which is historically a hard place to play.
Okay.
And then it'd be Vandy.
Now let's go look at the U's 3 losses, correct?
2 losses.
2 losses. Guess they're 10-2. Right?
They lost to Georgia Tech at Georgia Tech, and then they lost to Syracuse last week at Syracuse.
Who is a ranked team?
Now 22.
See, that's
one ranked team loss.
Where's Georgia Tech? They're not ranked. No, they're 8-4. Think so?
Yes,
but I think if you were to put Alabama up against either of those teams, Alabama would win against Hughes or Georgia Tech.
Oh, absolutely. Even if you're doing the
Georgia Tech. I mean, they just took Alabama or Georgia. I mean, I wouldn't be so confident on Georgia Tech, but I would be confident about Syracuse. But Syracuse is no slouch either. They're kind of like the Vandy of the ACC.
Right.
They may not be filled with a lot of people that you know about, but they're a scrappy team. They're better than a little bit than Vandy. But I mean, I get the point. But I mean, I would also say that Vandy probably beats a couple of those teams that and all this kind of stuff. Then you're playing this game, and I think it gets to the point that's probably why they weigh so heavily wins and not the losses, because then you start playing that game that we're starting to play, and you get kind of wrapped up in this
and then it leads you down a loop. Like, I don't know what's going on here. Then he says, we got to stick back to the win. That's why I wanted to do that, because a lot of people would say that let's focus more on the losses and see how they compare to the other team. And, when they have one more and then they lost to, teams that, at least one team they shouldn't have got.
And I think Vandy Man AD too, on the YouTube chat, on the F&M Bank chat, he says, nothing will ever make anyone happy. And I agree. Nothing will make him happy. But I'll tell you what will make us happy, to hear from the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. He's scheduled to be at the podium at 2 p.m., so we'll carry that in full when he is up at the podium. Other than that, this is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Hey, it's Blaine Bishop here for 1045 The Zone. The dual power of radio and digital on 1045 has always delivered results for the local advertisers. Now's your chance to book your 2025 marketing campaign early with this special savings and incentive. So reach out today to our local representatives, or you can just go to 1045thezone.com/epic.
Hey, Brent Doherty with 3HL 1045 The Zone. This is year 25 for me in radio. I believe in radio, and I believe in our crew. There's no question about it. We have a fun job. We tell jokes on the radio. We watch a lot of sports. We come in here and talk with listeners and get on the couch sometimes where people need to vent. We're all of those things. You know what else we are? Our job is to help you grow your business, and that's what we are here to do in 2025. Make sure you advertise with 1045 The Zone. It's 1045thezone.com/epic. I'll be glad to help you out. Any of our crew members on 1045 The Zone will be able to help you out, and we'll do it in a big way. Let's go.
Hey guys, we
Hour 2 of Cover 2 here on 104.5 The Zone. Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here with you. 615-737-1045. You want to get in on the conversation. Just some breaking NFL news as we await Brian Callahan to head to the podium for his press conference. The Ravens have suspended Deontay Johnson 1 game. And this is the statement from Ravens EVP, Executive Vice President and GM Eric DeCosta. We have made the difficult decision to suspend Deontay Johnson for our upcoming game against the New York Giants for conduct detrimental to the team. Deontay's suspension stems from refusing to enter our game against the Philadelphia Eagles. We will have no further comments on this matter going forward, is how he ends it. Blaine, your thoughts on that? I didn't even know this had happened, that he refused to enter a game.
Yeah, well, I didn't know he didn't refuse to get in the game. The story at the time was they asked Harbaugh after the game why he didn't get in the game, and I think it was his first time dressing, so I'm not sure on that, but that he didn't play. And Harbaugh's answer was, well, let me wrap my hands around all this. I don't know. I didn't know that he didn't play. Let me get some more information about it.
Which also goes to show you what all a head coach does, right? Like he didn't even know Deontay Johnson was in there.
He did not. So, because he was traded there from the Panthers.
Yeah.
Former Steeler. He's a really good player. This is where ego can hurt you if that's really true. He didn't go into the game. Some players be like, hey, man, I know I'm better than such and such, and so I should have been playing. Then they ask you to go in a game, and it's his last 2 minutes of the game, like, you're in Little League, and be like, man, why? And then you're happy to go in?
Yeah.
When you're like, oh, yeah, I got to play. Well, he's like, no, you disrespected me. I should have been in this game. And so then that can take you down a horrible road, and you'll get a black eye in this league. And I don't care who you are. You better be Hall of Fame level player to think you're going to get away with that and then get another shot.
Well, he's already been traded twice.
Right.
He went from the Steelers to the Panthers to the trade, and the Panthers didn't even keep him a full year.
This could really hurt him. And it may hurt him. He may get signed or whatever, but it may hurt his pocketbook. As far as how much he gets because of the risk people are going to look at him as if they sign him. Because he is a solid, I would say, number 2 for sure.
Right. He's got that deep speed. He does have a little case of the drops, but he does have some good deep speed.
He's a good player.
I don't understand why they weren't playing him a lot. You just traded for him.
Right. And I think that's where he's at. And by the way, I said, and I could be wrong, that was his first game dressing. And he's been on the, and you got to learn the plays and everything else, but man, that seemed like that took 2 or 3 weeks before he even dressed.
No, he's played. Since he got traded, he has played. I just pulled it up.
What was
But when we're talking about, and let me check his snap counts for you, though, because I think that is probably
why he's pissed.
Why he's pissed. But it was so interesting that they decide to trade for him. He's barely featured in the offense. When you talk about targets, we're talking about 1 or 2 targets, and you never hear his name or anything like that. Like, it feels to me like, what are you doing here? Like, why did you trade for this guy? What's going on behind the scenes that you traded for this guy? He's only played 39 snaps since being traded. And
How many targets?
39 snaps, okay, since being traded, 39 offensive snaps. And give me 1 second to pull it up.
But he still has to be a pro's pro, regardless of whenever
he's
they
played
put you
4
in.
games, 39 snaps, offensive snaps, and he's gotten 0 targets, 2 targets, 2 targets, 1 target. Something is going on right there.
That we're not privy to. A little bit of divas now, man. Hey, man. Why did I trade for me? Y'all not even playing me.
I know.
Let alone throwing me the ball. Hey, man.
In a team that has been desperate to have a wide receiver that you could throw the ball to other than Zay Flowers and Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews, like you've been desperate for this. He got there and something bad happened. Like, right? Isn't that what it has to be? That either he doesn't know the playbook, he doesn't know the plays, he doesn't want to block. Maybe that could be an issue, that he's not wanting to, block for Lamar Jackson. I don't know. Something happened.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish I had a little insight there. We ran out of time there with Jordan because I had it down to ask because I was like, man, this guy's a solid player. I mean, does he have an attitude issue?
Must.
I don't know.
Because the Panthers gave up on him in their first year of acquiring him. They just acquired him last offseason.
Well, he might have requested to get up out of there because the quarterback issue, let alone he can't get targeted. You're only a function of your quarterback that gets you the ball. If somebody has some insight, give us a call.
Let's go to Joe in Nashville while we're waiting for Brian Callahan to come to the presser. Joe, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Gentlemen, how y'all doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Good.
Man, listen, I don't know if you guys, I watched the interview with Victor Cruz, the salsa dancing receiver from the Giants.
Yeah, I remember.
And I think he was on the Breakfast Club. This is probably an old interview. And he brought up a situation where teams would shut players down because they might have had something in their contract.
Yeah, sign a bonus.
Catch over X amount of balls, or you get X amount of playing time, you get a $25,000 or $100,000 bonus or something like that. And he mentioned that happened to him. And, he said, the team just came and said, hey, you have a knee injury issue this week, so we're not going to play you. So do you all think that things like that, Blaine, has that happened to you? This could be one of those situations where teams are signing guys and to keep paying that extra bonus money, they put them on, don't dress them or put them on practice cards, things like that. Is that still going on in the league? I ain't going to be listening.
I've definitely heard of that. That never happened to me, but I've definitely seen that happen to players. I don't know what his contractual situation was through a trade and what his bonuses were within his contract. But man, I'm gonna say this just on a whim. I just don't see that happening. They were desperate for receivers. They wanted to get impact for a player. I think that's why they traded him. Not only that he could be an insurance policy, but also to get him in their scheme, their system, and get to work with, somebody got injured or wasn't performing. We can put him out here and let it ride. We know this guy can play. We've played this guy, when he's with the Steelers twice a year. We know exactly what he can do. So for him not to play, it's just in them to trade for, that's just really odd. I think there's something else going on here. I don't think it's a contract. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't think it's that, but it could be. I don't know his contract. I don't know, man.
Well, there is some incentives, but it doesn't say what the incentives are, at least on Spotrac. I'll have to check over the cat. But
when you trade for a receiver in season, you want to throw him out here and get him acclimated really quick. So I don't know what's going on because why'd you get him?
Yeah. Well, I also look at it this way to answer the larger question of whether this happens. This happens. Look at what the reason. One of the quote unquote rumored reasons, allegedly, that Justin Fields really got benched for Russell Wilson is because if they played Justin Fields a little bit more and he got a few more starts and they didn't bench him, they would have had to pay the Bears a higher draft pick.
Right.
So this happens in certain situations. Maybe not incentives necessarily, unless it's maybe a lost season and they slow play bringing you back or something like that. But, in certain situations when it comes to draft picks, you see teams do it all the time. Now they'll say it's for other reasons. And listen, that benching may have been for Russell Wilson because they thought he did give them the best chance to win. He's kind of rewarded them
played
for
it
that.
out that way, but I don't know.
It very easily could have gone the other way.
It could have. I thought it was a risky move at the time because Fields was hot.
Yeah.
He was playing well and running and throwing.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a risky move. I would have bought some more time and let,
Brian Callahan is up at the podium, so we'll be taking you over there here in just a second. He's going to be making some announcements right now. But this is Brian Callahan up at St. Thomas Sports Park.
It's really tight for me, so this is helpful. I appreciate it. Really, practice-wise, not a whole lot of updates. We've got plenty of guys on the report. We'll see how the week progresses, but expect, feel good about most of them, but there's a couple that we're going to have to wait and see through the week how they feel by the time we get to practice. So with that, I'll let you go ahead.
Give an update on Traylon Burks.
I do. I should have mentioned this probably before, but he went on IR with an ACL injury initially. It was a loose ACL that wasn't fully torn, and so they had to go to see some doctors and some specialists, and some weeks went by after he went on IR, but he eventually had to have ACL surgery, so he is out for the year, not coming back, obviously, with that surgery. So went to IR, had some tests and some further work done, and had to have the surgery. So the surgery was, I don't want to speak out of turn on the date, but couple weeks back probably, but it was from the time he went to IR to when it happened was also a couple of weeks. So kind of got lost in the shuffle there on the IR board.
It's good to get Duncan back in the mix and you start his process.
Yeah, he's coming back. Worked at practice today, so it'll be he's getting back with his feet underneath him, playing a little bit. So we'll see how he progresses through the week for sure. I don't know that he'll be ready for the game this week, but we're getting him back to work.
Could that still be something that you consider? I know Nick's been holding it down for a couple of weeks now, but could Duncan, make some noise as far as that goes?
Yeah, we're gonna see. He's got to feel good enough to do it. But yeah, I mean, we had some hopes that he'd be able to help us this year, and didn't last very long in that Buffalo game. Lasted a couple of plays. So we'll see. I think there's some if he's here and ready to play and he can help us, then we'll certainly put him in there to help us.
As you look at punt return, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah.
Think Jaquan will get an opportunity again, or?
Yeah, I mean, there's I won't give away all my information for you, but there's we're looking at some things to see if we can get that better. Obviously, the ball on the ground is too much, and we got to get that fixed and secured. So we're working through that process. Yeah.
How frustrating is it? I mean, it's like, okay, you plug this hole, that one comes up, and you continue to have to bounce around and put out different fires.
Yeah, truthfully, that's what it is every year, and to some degree. I mean, we just had more of them this year, I think, than we'd like to have. But yeah, it's certainly you feel like you fix something and you're feeling good about a part of it or a phase of it, and then something else you got to try that comes up again, or something else comes up that's new. So those things are frustrating. Yeah, we'd like to find a level of consistency that allows us to play to our capability, which I don't think we've hit yet. So it does get frustrating that we fix one thing, something starts to play better, and then we have to address another issue. But truthfully, that's every season in all three phases. You're always sort of adapting and adjusting based on good, bad, injuries, etc. So that's sort of just how the NFL season goes. Just feels like we've had to do a lot of it.
Julius Wood by any chance? I wonder if he had any kind of explanation.
No, I don't have any real comment on that. Those things are sort of out of my jurisdiction and wheelhouse. So that's a league matter.
Given what happened to Trevor Lawrence, is that a teachable moment for you and your quarterbacks about having to protect themselves, sliding, that kind of thing?
Yeah, every Friday we do our situational masters. Luke gets up there and Clint gets up there, and they do things from around the league, and that's one of the things that often comes up is for our quarterbacks. When they're on the boundary, running out of bounds, making sure that if you're going out, go out. Don't screw around trying to get an extra yard or two, because those things we teach and we point out, particularly when you're sliding too, when you're going to slide, get down. So those are all things that we use to teach any clips from around the league, and that certainly will be one of them, both for our offense and our defense, and just knowing when and where you can hit the quarterback and you can't, and that's all part of the game and within the rules, and we got to play within them, and so we do a good job of trying to make sure we know what those rules are.
You want to avoid sacks and hits on the quarterback as much as possible, but sometimes they're inevitable. How much of a needed quality is it from a quarterback to be able to just get up from that and not be gun shy and still make the next play, as opposed to some of these guys that you see that get a little PTSD?
Yeah, I think that's quarterback play. You're going to get hit in the NFL. The rushers are too good. The pressures are designed to hit the quarterback, and people do a good job of getting home. And you have to be able to, as a quarterback in the league, be able to stand in the pocket and take hits and get back up. And I think that's one of the things I've been most impressed from Will, is his ability and his toughness as a quarterback in the pocket. He takes hits and he pops right back up and keeps rolling, and that's impressive. And it's hard for quarterbacks to show toughness the way other guys do, and that's the one way quarterbacks can, is when they take a shot and get up and make a throw. That's a big deal.
Without naming names, have you ever had one that became gun shy, and what did you do about it?
No, I've been fortunate to be around some pretty good ones that are pretty dang tough, and that's one of the things that they're good at. And quarterbacks in the league are going to have to stand in there, and if you don't like getting hit, get rid of the ball. That's one of the things you can do. Obviously, Peyton Manning in his later years, he just knew where to go with the ball, and he didn't take very many hits or sacks because he didn't want to. And so at 38 years old, I wouldn't want to either. But he knew how to protect himself in that way. And then really, I've never had a guy ever be gun shy before. It's just part of the position that's required to be able to stand in there.
Where do you think Harold is right now in terms of ability to generate any kind of consistent pass play?
Yeah, I think we need more from the whole group. Pass rush wise, we've had spots where it's looked good. Harold's had some production, and the idea is we need more from everybody, and that's all the guys on the defensive line. That's our pressure package, all of it. Just more pressure on a quarterback. And when we've pressured the quarterback, we've forced him into errors. The ball's come up. We've forced interceptions. Those things are all things that we have to do more of to get the ball back and affect the quarterback, certainly.
Why do you think those guys haven't been able to string together multiple weeks of consistent play, and that's been more up and down?
It's hard to say. I think we've been really close a lot too. There's been a lot of plays where the quarterback's just getting the ball out right as the contact's being made, and so those things don't get to show up as much. But I think we're pressuring. We're creating pressure, but we're not affecting it enough. And I think we're consistency-wise, from top to bottom, I think as a football team, we got to be better. I don't think there's any one area that can say they've played consistently enough. And part of the reason why we are where we are is that consistency from game to game and down to down. So I think it all needs to be more consistent from top to bottom.
With developing a young quarterback, the product we see on Sundays can look very just non-linear and up and down, and obviously you guys have experienced that with Will, but I guess behind the scenes, what are some of the most important things that you look at to make sure a guy is on the right track, and what are maybe some of those things for Will?
That's a long answer probably, but in general, looking for guys to be consistent in the approach, their week to week routine, how they practice. That's a big part of what it looks like, the consistency in practice. And then you're going to look at, when we're making mistakes, are we learning from them? Is there repeat mistakes? Are we repeating things that we've talked about multiple times? And the cool thing right now for Will is that as we've corrected things, he's corrected them, and that's been really, really fun to watch as he's made adjustments from game to game. Sometimes even from in the game, made an adjustment to a coverage or a read, and that part's been good to see. And that's generally what you're looking for in a very overarching term, is that may not necessarily show up exactly on Sunday, or your performance. You might not always be having a great performance because a lot of factors go into that. But the repeating of mistakes, as many as limited as you can make that, that's when you see growth. And then taking some coaching, for example, Will throwing a ball away on a first or second down if you're kind of imminent to a sack and save us the loss. Did that a few times. He's been sliding a lot. Those are when he scrambles. Those are all things that you see in the growth in the game, and that's just an example for us for what Will's going through progression wise. So it's little things that sometimes not very glamorous either, but those are all things that tell us that he's taking coaching from practice to games and making improvements.
So good for the most part in run D this year. After last week, though, do you sort of appeal to their pride to kind of bounce back from an outing like that? Yeah, I
certainly hope so. Pride is definitely a part of it. There's a professionalism involved with the expectation, and that was a game that should fuel us to be much better. We've been good. We need to not have a game like that. But sometimes that happens. Sometimes you get humbled in the NFL. Sometimes you get beat bad. And it's all about how you respond. And for us, how we respond this week is going to be critical. And that's our focus is bouncing back from a performance that, wasn't good enough by our standards at any stretch. And we got to do a lot better.
Brian, you talked before about quarterback development in the league and the rookie range scale, the way this works. Do you think guys are getting enough time to get evaluated when they first come in the league?
I think there's two parts to that question probably, but ultimately you look around at the guys that maybe we're giving up on that are around the league that are playing decent football. There's just not a lot of patience for that, and development for quarterbacks takes time. And what happens is you get the one guy per class that jumps that progression. Even Joe Burrow wasn't Joe Burrow the first year he played before he got hurt. He was getting better and playing better, but he wasn't what he is now. But the Jaden Daniels and the C.J. Stroud and the guys that come on and immediately sort of clicks for them, and they're the offensive rookie of the year, whatever that is. There's also a whole bunch of guys that don't necessarily have the same situation, circumstances set up that need the time to develop. And there is a part of that guys need time. They need to play. They need to get coached. They need to make errors. They need to improve. And so there's not a lot of patience for that in general, because there is the outliers. There's the one guy or two guys that hit the right way. But you see there's some pretty good quarterbacks, guys that are playing decent football that were sort of given up on by the teams that they were with. And I think that would prove that there probably is a patience part that gets neglected.
A lot of times with special teams, like you see guys kind of cut their teeth there leading into positions on offense or defense. James Williams or, Cedric Gray, are there guys that you're seeing do that? And if not, do you think like the problems with special teams inhibited that?
No, I think that we're on that track right now with, Cedric's been playing a couple games now. James has been playing quite a bit. Bryce Oliver, I think, has he's really stepped up and played well on special teams. And I think Bryce has a future as a receiver in this league. And that's where you start to see what guys are made of in a game day experience. And you get to see him make plays. I mean, my best personal example was Chris Harris Jr. Chris came into Denver as an undrafted free agent and played special teams and was phenomenal. And every time you make more plays on special teams, you look around and you go, we probably need to find a place for that guy somewhere else. And Chris turned into one of the best, nickel corners in football for a long time there. But he cut his teeth playing teams his first year. And that's an important part of player development, is those guys making plays on teams, playing on teams, and you learn how to play NFL football. So we got some young guys playing out there, and those guys have done a good job, and that's a part of getting them ready to go to the next role, whatever, more snaps at linebacker, whatever the position is.
On the patience thing, when you needed an inside linebacker in a pinch on Sunday, you went to Gifford.
Correct.
Rather than to one of the young guys.
Yep.
Does that tell us about the patience and the progress of the young guys?
Yeah, there's just a comfortable. It's not really a word, but it's a confidence that Gifford with the green dot, being able to make the calls and get everybody lined up. That's a lot to put on a rookie off the bench. But certainly there's going to be some opportunities for those guys to play, and they're going to have some chances that they maybe not would have otherwise had due to injuries. And they got to rise to the occasion and earn that trust and earn the right to be able to be the guy that goes in there when we need him to. So that's all a part of the process. Yep. Thanks, guys.
That was Brian Callahan up at the podium. Will Levis is up at the podium now, but we're not going to throw it to him. We're actually going to go on to break, and then we're going to talk about some of the things that Brian Callahan talked about. We're also going to talk about the 2024 Titans and how maybe they compare to the 2023 Titans, where they've kind of improved. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
There are a lot of diagnoses out there, and there's a pill for everything, but not all diagnoses are accurate, and not all pills are good for you. Hey, it's Blaine Bishop. And when you get a diagnosis for European auto repair, get a second opinion before you make a major decision. And Eurofix is the home for second opinions. So before you spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars on European vehicle repair from a diagnosis, go to Eurofix. It could not only save your vehicle's life, but could actually save you from a lot of stress that ruins your weekend. So life's too short to get stressed out and angry. So be happy and go to Eurofix. And at Eurofix, you get a free 15-minute no-wrench inspection with an estimate at every visit and not high-pressure sales tactics. And at Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner card with every repair appointment. And at Eurofix, you never pay dealer pricing. Located all over the state of Tennessee in Franklin, Hundred Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now Mount Juliet. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can just visit them online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. But always don't blame you.
Hello, I'm Ashley Northington, Chair of Moving Forward of Middle Tennessee. The upcoming transit referendum is a game changer for our economy, business leaders, and the entire community. A robust transit system is essential for a thriving economy. With 54 miles of high-capacity transit corridors and 86 miles of new sidewalks, this plan enhances Nashville's connectivity, making it easier for everyone to get where they need to go. This isn't just about transportation. It's about economic empowerment. For business leaders, reliable transit means a more productive workforce. Shorter commutes boost productivity and job satisfaction, helping businesses attract and retain top talent. Improved transit also drives sales and supports local economies by making it easier for customers to reach businesses. The benefits extend to the entire community, connecting people to essential services, education, and recreation. This creates a more inclusive city where everyone can access the resources they need to thrive. Supporting the Choose How You Move transit referendum is an investment in our future. This is about creating a city where businesses can flourish, residents can thrive, and the community enjoys a higher quality of life. Join me in backing this transformative opportunity. Let's build a Nashville where everyone has the opportunity to succeed and to prosper. Visit the link in the caption to learn more about the referendum, how it will support our community, and how you can get involved. Thank you.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Store, 615-737-1045. And we're going to go to Crazy Titans Lady in Nashville who wants to talk about the Tennessee Titans. Crazy Titans Lady, you're on with Blaine and Zach here on 104.5 The Zone.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, this is the Crazy Titans Lady.
Yeah.
I heard that y'all played a clip of my video the other day.
Yeah, I think it was the show after ours, but it was 3HL. They played the clip.
Okay, then I was just talking about the Titans where they went out there and they just made a mess. I was talking about where they were going to give me a heart attack. I mean, my blood pressure was just going to bust outside my head the way they were playing. It was just a terrible, terrible mess. And I wanted somebody to go out there and just pick them up and bring them home because it was just a wreck. It was just a terrible, terrible, terrible wreck. I said, Delta, over anybody, just please go out there and get them and bring them back to Nashville, Tennessee. Although I love them. I love the Titans. And I will be right there Sunday watching them again.
We need to give him a pep talk there.
I know it. I know. I put the videos out there almost every game. I do a video, and I want to go out there, and I need to go there and go to the locker room and talk to them. I tell them to tighten up and don't lighten up. I tell them that all the time. Tighten up. We ain't gonna lighten up. What you say? Now tighten up. We ain't gonna lighten up, and that's what I tell them.
Love it. Love it.
But they won't listen.
I know.
We're gonna try and get them to listen, though. We're gonna get them to listen to you
against the Jags.
But we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Sunday. Watch us against the Jaguars. Although they're just as bad as we are.
Yeah, It may just be a little bit worse. I love the confidence. All right, you have a good day.
It's a pleasure talking to y'all. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
But yeah, it was let's circle back to what Brian Callen was talking about because I mean that's going to tie into all this. There's also conversations going on in the F&M Bank chat on Zone TV, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live about this whole Brian Callahan and the special teams coach and the special teams unit. And I feel like we've talked about this yesterday enough, but people are wanting him fired. And apparently someone is claiming that there was a guest that was on that said that this is all scheme related. It's not player issue related. When really, I don't know who it was. With Football Fred, if someone can figure out who said what, she wasn't on our show. But I mean, I'm talking to a former player right here. I've heard other former players on the radio. I've heard, coaches that have came on our show and talked about special teams. This seems really like, and the way that they are acting with their actions by removing certain players and trying to find what fits is that they are trying to find players that have that want to and desire to play special teams and will execute the game plan as given to them.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that because now they're, all over the, waiver wire looking for different players and free agents and everything else. So I would say that you don't get it done, then you sit. And if not, then you will not be in the NFL.
Because Ricky's right here. I mean, and he says, I see scrubs all across the NFL playing good special teams. Go look at the Patriots. And, scrubs may be a little bit of a harsh word, but guys that are not household names doing it. But they also have that want to and desire. And I don't think that's the coach's fault. I think that there is a certain, not everybody could play special teams. Wouldn't you agree? And even some of the best players probably can't play special teams because it's a different beast altogether, right?
Well, I'm going to go, there are some, but I would say it is all about how much do you want to do it. And I say that with due respect. I made my oats on special teams my rookie year, and it is either in the league or you're not based off of that because, then the money wasn't where it is today. So a lot of people, players I think feel like, okay, this is buying time to me until I get to start. I think it was a little different then. So you got to have players that have that desire and that want to go down there and make the play and embrace it and feel like you're proud to be a part of the special teams and that you're a critical, part of the team. I think we felt that way. At least I did. And I wanted to do my job and then do more. So I don't know if that's the fact or not, but obviously it's a tough thing to do. I think everybody could do it. Besides a quarterback and, the quarterback I play with, I think he could even do it. So McNair. So
could you imagine being a punt returner and then you see McNair coming at you?
Yeah, he was a big guy.
Yeah.
And he can run. So, it's just tough. You got to have some grit to you. Maybe let's say that. And I think most players think that's the way, at least when I was playing, that's how you get to on the field. Callahan said it here. That's exactly how I thought. That's why I feel like There's no way that I would fire him after 1 year because your desire to do well on special teams then gives you an opportunity as soon as there is a hiccup with the guy in front of you. Hey, let's get this guy an opportunity. He's making plays. He used, I think, Chris Harris, I think he said junior.
Yeah.
There with the Broncos, who's an undrafted player. And actually, I think he went to a couple of Pro Bowls and was a quality starter in the National Football League for a little while. So a nickel, guy. So, yeah, man, I think that's the thought process. So some players, I think, just haven't figured out this is how you play special teams in the NFL. And you don't have time to wait. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, and I think,
to me, if you can't get it done and you're backup, you're not in the NFL.
I mean, let's run through who's on the punt coverage unit just real quick. Jalen Harrell, Chigakonkwo, Otis Reese, Mike Brown, Josh Wiley, Luke Gifford, Justin Hardy, Morgan Cox. Those are the guys that are typically on your punt coverage units. And then sometimes you'll have Bryce Oliver, James Williams. But those aren't, outside of Chig, that's the only true starter level player that could probably go on a couple of different teams and play.
Yeah, because you can run.
And these are some of these guys are relatively new to playing special teams because they had to put them in and switch them out. And then when you look at the kick coverage, Julius Wood, who's now been suspended, Cedric Gray, Julius Chestnut, Otis Reese, Mike Brown, Amani Hooker, Luke Gifford, Justin Hardy. We know James Williams is playing on that too. So a bunch of players that are trying to make hay. Like, you see James Williams fly down there.
Yeah.
He's making really good special teams.
The core of your special team can't be all rookies.
Right.
I'm sorry.
That's right. And that's kind of where they're at a bunch of undrafted free agents and rookies. Yeah, and that's a hard thing to do. And really, this is a kind of they've told us what's been the issue. A guy's not staying in his lane, or a guy's trying to make a play when he shouldn't be making a play, and all this kind of stuff. Like, to me, this is just a in-the-moment player issue for some of these guys that are very inexperienced at playing special teams. I don't know how many of these players even played special teams in college, in a consistent enough basis. So, I really look at it and like, okay, if he comes out this week, what we talked about, he fixed the punt blocking unit. Field goals have been fine. He then, this past week, finally got the right amount of players and the right, personnel out there to do kick coverage and punt return coverage. And then there was a fumble. So now, if he fixes the punt return or the returner issue, and the rest of the way is just normal special teams, he shouldn't be fired. Yeah, that tells you everything.
He should be fine. Man, did it feel like that Jackson's no longer playing?
That's what it really sounds like. It sounds like Jaquan Jackson is pretty much not going to be the returner. He wouldn't come out and say it today because he's like, I guess, trying to
figure out if they
competitive advantage. I guess maybe.
Did they sign anybody?
No? Not yet that we're aware of.
So that means
but Mason Kinsey
in-house.
Yeah. But we'll see. But I look at it this way. If they fix that issue, but also, we got to remember, Ryan Stonehouse has been out kicking his coverage, too. And we talked about it yesterday. Oh, yeah. It's been 3 years of people trying to get Ryan Stonehouse to not outkick his coverage. Yeah. So, again...
to make him something that he's not.
Yeah, I'm not really sure about this, whole let's fire Colt Anderson thing. But I understand the optics and the want to have a head on the pike, so to speak, a sacrificial lamb. But that's really all you're getting.
Yeah. Well, here's a good example. NWI is exactly the player you want.
Yeah.
How did he make his oath as an undrafted player?
Special teams.
Yeah. And see how he just hung around every time he got his opportunity. Once it became available on offense, then you kept on, I think he's okay. Oh, I think he's a 3. Oh, I think he's a 4.
Yep.
Now I think he's a 2. Oh, no, well, now he's a 2-3. He got his opportunity, and then next thing you know. So it still can be done. And he was running down there making tackles.
Yep.
So I don't get it, man.
Got to find the right players.
Yeah,
players that
right.
love football.
Yeah,
you got to find those players.
That's what it is. You hit it. Yep.
Which brings you back to a little bit to Rand Carthon. But when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about that and his share of the blame in all of this. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Hey, this is Blaine Bishop. I want to know if you have heard about peptides. And peptides are shaking up the fitness world. There are naturally occurring aminos in our bodies. So as we age, they start to decline. And at some point, you may need to be supplemented. And this is why our workouts can stop being productive at the gym and maybe feel like you hit a wall or perhaps feel tired all the time. You may be struggling to stay awake in the evenings when you get home from work. Well, if you had that thought that's the normal part of aging, it doesn't have to be that way. I started noticing the energy and was no longer tired after the show. I had heard about peptides on the station for a long time, so I finally went to Edge Peptide to see what all the fuss was about. I learned a lot about what was going on in my body, and from the blood panel they did. They customized a plan specific to my needs and what my body was lacking. And now I noticed I have all the energy in the world, and my focus is on point. So when you go to Edge, you will know exactly what is going on inside of your body and what it needs to get back to peak performance. Will feel better from the inside out. So go to edgepeptide.com. Yes, that's edgepeptide.com. Or you can just give them a call at 615-724-1878. That's 724-1878.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door, 615-737-1045 if you want to get in on the conversation. And we were talking about special teams, which has become like the new talking about Will Levis. Feels like every day we're at least going to be bringing up special teams so far. But before the break, I was talking about, Rain Carthon has let's put it this way. Ren Carthon and Brian Callahan have some blame to share on this special teams disaster because they kept certain players in constructing that final 53 over special teams players that have proven special teams players.
Right. It ran over on the roster.
Well, he is, but he's.
Well, I mean, he was collaborating.
He's collaborating. That's what I'm saying. But, the problem is that I feel there's a little too much of relationship where he's not really setting his foot down. Let's talk about this in regarding two different players, Hassan Haskins and Julius Chestnut. Okay, this is going to be player example number one. All we heard, Julius Chestnut's a fantastic runner and he's the better runner, and Hassan Haskins is a special teams demon and all this kind of stuff. And what do they decide to do? They could have kept both of them, but they decided to keep a tight end and David Martin Robinson that they have yet to make active, if I'm not mistaken. So they haven't done anything, right? And you could have kept Hassan Haskins. And Julius Chestnut has really provided you nothing as a runner in the regular season, which is just like I knew it would happen, right? Like I knew that was going to happen because everybody gets all hyped up over Julius Chestnut in these last few off seasons. Oh, he's such a great runner. And then he does really nothing on the team. And this is when you could have had Hassan Haskins, who we know is good in special teams coverage. And there you go. There's one. On the flip side, I look at it and I'm thinking, that's a Rain Carthon thing. So obviously, Brian Callahan, more than likely, we're assuming, nudge, is like, I need these players and I want the offense to be good. Well, special teams could be on the back burner. That's what it kind of felt like. And then I go over to right tackle.
Ooh.
Bill Callahan's probably came in, said, here's what I can work with NPF. And you know what Rain Carthon should have said? You don't know this dude. You think you're good. This guy ain't got it. Because I've been around this guy. I know who he is. I know what he has between the ears. I know what talent level he is because we've seen it here up close. This dude ain't it. But no, he just went with whatever Bill Callahan said. That's what it feels like. I mean, I don't know for sure. I'm not reporting anything, but from the outside looking in,
I can work with that. Bill had said that.
And then if Bill says it, you got to do it. Instead, you got to make your voice heard. I also look at it this way. You're talking about the final 53, the transition to the final 53. You know who had a top 10 special teams unit in the NFL in the preseason this year? Tennessee Titans. And then they got rid of all their good special teams players, and what happened?
What was hard? Well, I don't know all the players that were released, but I think it's a lot harder than you're putting out there. Special teams in the preseason is a little different than the regular season. So I could say that for sure.
Yeah.
But Haskins, who had missed last season, let's just say, was not a better runner. And in the preseason, it was pretty evident. Now, he also didn't show his previous, let's say, zeal to be a great special teamer because I can't remember making a tackle. But they said that he was a good special teamer. Now, we all know during the preseason, they say nice things about everybody. It was nobody that was a bad. I don't remember if he had tackles or not, but I can't recall. Like when he was actually on the roster and he did do a good job before he got suspended or wasn't on the roster the year before. So I thought Chestnut was a better runner. So I think they got a little conflicted there. And they needed a power back. So they could have, it was probably close, but I'm with you. If it was close, I want to go with special teamer, the tight end, which I think they get a pass on. Well, he did well. He was going to get picked up. He hadn't played for the Titans, but I think that was a decision you say, I need to go special teams and not Martin. So I would have went that route with
and you could tell that they regret their decision because all they're doing is finding these special teams guys. Too little, too late.
Yeah, and then, then Harbaugh does a little, put Haskins
and that
in there.
NPF thing, but that also brings up.
But did Haskins make any tackles against the Titans in that game?
I don't know. I think he may have.
I don't know.
But, Stoney Keeley said that Rand Carthon should have taken the phone away from Tyke Tolbert in the 6th round because, he drafted Jaquan Jackson, which, everybody and their mama knew that Malik Washington was the better draft pick at that point, except for Tyke Tolbert and maybe Tajay Spears. And at some point,
Tyke Tolbert pushed him to take someone
Tyke Tolbert was a big proponent. He was one of the few assistant coaches that went out on the road that was recognized, that was there for his pro day and all this kind of stuff. And, I get listening to your coaches, but you also got to trust your own process and your own decision making because you're the GM.
You was at the Senior Bowl. What did it look like? Both of them were there?
Malik Washington was not there. Jaquan Jackson was there, and I just watched Malik Washington's tape. Jaquan Jackson was just a dude in pads.
Did he have fumble issues or catching issues?
He couldn't do anything against press. He couldn't do anything against zone. He was just a dude.
Oh, so the punt return though, it was nobody really.
No, I can't remember. I don't really pay attention to the punt return parts at the Senior Bowl.
Did you watch any film during the regular season? Because some people are saying he had some fumbling issues in college.
Yes, he did have fumbling issues in college and muffed punts and muffed kickoffs and all that kind of stuff.
I thought he
did.
Wow.
And I think his tape wasn't anything spectacular as a wide receiver. When you watch Malik Washington, listen, I'm not saying he's Zay Flowers, but when you watch him play against the competition he was playing against and the way that he played and all that kind of stuff, he's like diet Zay Flowers.
Right. Wait, poor man's.
Yeah, poor man's Zay Flowers. But that was a dude to me. And listen, Malik has muffed a punt too, but Malik in the pros, he muffed a punt last week against the Dolphins. But Malik is a more dynamic player. And we're talking about one muffed punt and 4 fumbles from Jaquan Jackson versus one muffed punt from Malik Washington. What do you guys think is better? Like, that's just excuse making if you're going to bring up that one muffed punt to me. That's covering for Jaquan Jackson. Malik Washington on tape was the better receiver. Hands down.
He was the better return
question. And when we were on the clock, and we do an all-day draft thing, and we're covering it. When we're on the clock, we're all screaming for Malik Washington.
And
then Jaquan Jackson, it was the most disappointing thing ever. So disappointing. So I'm not surprised this is where it's ended up, because the tape told you that. You should trust the tape. That's where I'm at.
Trust the tape.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
All right. 3HL's up next. This has been Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. And in the meantime.
And in between time.
Peace.